Let's talk about life, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the truth and consciousness. Divinity. Let's talk about God. Let's talk about love.
Okay, so welcome to Spiritual Nerds Presents, and I'm one of your hosts, Ninette Terhart.
And I'm Linda O'Connell.
And you know what time it is.
It's time for some real talk
about healing, y'all.
Well, it's been a while that we've been back in our places, hanging out and talking. I know we've both been going through a lot of, healing and a lot of handing it over, and a lot of inner work's been going on, wouldn't you say?
Yes, a lot.
And so what's that?
There's been a whole lot going on, a whole lot of healing, a whole lot of handing over, just constant, a lot of willingness. Song.
A whole lot of healing and a whole lot of handing over. Really sounds like a hoedown, I'm telling you.
Oh, it's been a hoedown, all right.
It's been a hoedown, yeah, totally.
At times the barn burned.
Yes, yeah, sometimes it has to. So today we are talking about R.A.T, which is rat, and I have a fantastic description of a rat, and I'd love to read it for you, because as you know, today's topic is you dirty rat, and we're talking about the ego.
You dirty rat.
So here we go. A rat, rodent, that sometimes is responsible for transmitting diseases. And when it's informal, a person regarded as a rat is considered despicable, especially someone who has been deceitful and disloyal. If we're describing the ego, that's fantastic.
Yes, exactly.
And of course, we were turned on by R.A.T. Rat by Regina Ackers through Myron Jones, who is we're working with her. And it is a fantastic acronym for...
The R is for rest, and the A is for accepting, and the T is for trust.
Bing, 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 bing.
Yes,
Fireworks are going to go off.
It's a powerful, powerful tool. I've been doing this with some of the people that have contacted me for healing sessions.
Right.
And it is powerful when they learn to do this. So the R is resting in, instead of like there's a happening, something has happened. I'm so hurt. I feel so hurt and angry.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes, I'm hurt and angry, and somebody out there did this to me.
Right.
And so what we're doing, instead of confronting them, calling them
rat.
You dirty rat.
Yes, exactly. Let me tell you just exactly how I feel about you.
What you've done to me.
Yeah. So instead, I'm just going to rest, and I'm going to accept it. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to let all those feelings come in, all those thoughts. I'm just accepting all of this hurt, this pain, this anger. I'm allowing it to come in, and I'm feeling it because it is shown up at this time to be healed.
Right. So I want to stop right here, Linda, because this is amazing that you just said that.
Okay.
I think for a lot of people who are like, okay, this person just pissed me off. Okay, fine. In your one aspect of your mind, you're going to feel very convinced of that. And so something that I really love that Regina said in the that meditation, that audio that you sent me, and I'll make sure I have a link to that.
Okay.
You see yourself, and I like to think of myself as the eye of the storm in that, tornado, where the eye is very calm. And you detach yourself from the goings on of that ego thought system that's really going to try to ring you in.
Yes.
And you just say, okay, I'm going to let the ego have its shitstorm while I am just going to stay in that center. And you're going to feel a lot of stuff, and you're going to be convinced that your body your stomach's you're gonna have like maybe pain in your chest, or you're gonna feel like your stomach getting all grippy.
Yeah.
Right? You're gonna feel all this stuff that's gonna try to justify that you need to point the finger at the thing outside yourself.
Yeah. The ego wants you to feel all this stuff and hold on to it.
Right.
Does the ego, this is what continues to make the world real. It continues to make the dream real when we continue to hold on to this and feel it. And we feel it for years.
Yeah.
And we can hold on to this stuff for a lifetime. And, this is sickening.
Yeah.
So it affects us in so many different ways. So now we're saying we are accepting it and we're feeling it. So then when we've gathered it all up and we've got it in our mind and we've reenacted it in our head, we say, this has come up at this time to be healed in my mind. It's all in my mind. And so now I am just handing it over and giving it to you, Holy Spirit.
And trusting then.
That's where the T comes in.
Yeah.
I'm forgiving because it's not real. This is all part of the dream, all these feelings, all this, but I'm cleaning it up. There's just one more thing that's come up. And so I'm handing it over to you in forgiveness, and then the T, and trusting that my mind is being healed of this. And it is. And it's like this incredible Black & Decker tool. It's like, wow.
The rest for only $19.99, but wait.
I'm wearing it on my tool belt right now. I mean, it is awesome.
Yeah.
And I have so much fun with people that I work with this lately, because they will want to talk about, they will bring up, oh my gosh, they'll bring up a relationship with a spouse, that's gone on for years, or a sibling, or anyone, a good friend. But there are these things that just irk them and have forever.
Yeah.
And so then when they do this and they allow it all in, and then I'll say, okay, now look at this now. Look at your friend, look at your husband, look at, just look at it now. And they'll go like,
yeah,
there's nothing there. It's like a void, and it's true. It's gone.
Yeah.
And it's been replaced with light.
Well, I know from my own experience, I have to share this because I think transparency is key in, really helping each other heal the mind, is that in my own relationship with my partner, I have seen a tremendous shift from going from that ego-centric, just driven by those thoughts of irkiness, as you put it, which I love that word, irkiness, and to sit in the ego storm and all of the stuff that it's trying to whip up, and just stay in that place where it's like, you know what, you can go off and do your thing. I'm not going to resist you, and I'm also not going to get into you, but I'm going to just allow it to be there, and then, hand that over, accept it all. And as I've done this, especially over the last year and a half, for those of you out there listening and you're in a relationship, or you have relationships where there's a lot of stuff irking, this is truly, and J-Dog talks about it in the course, like your brothers are your salvation. And I used to think, okay, but now I really, really get that, because my partner has been a huge part of my awakening up, because without that, I would still be kind of Homer Simpsoning around thinking everything's la-di-da, but all this stuff unconsciously needs to come up. All this guilt and this anger or frustration, and sometimes it's rage, that would reveal itself. And it needs to, but that interaction of that kind, like some people say, oh, I just don't get along with that person. I'm like, well, that might be something you want to investigate, because there's a whole lot of healing going on there.
That's right. There's a whole lot of projection going on there.
If you take the mission, there's a lot of both projection, and there's a lot of opportunity for healing. And so now I'm experiencing, I feel like our partnership and that, all of that has now been, we're way past a tipping point now. And now we're speaking honestly with each other, with ourselves, and we're really transparent with each other. And we're having conversations that we would have never had a year ago. I mean, the interest span was maybe 3 minutes, and that's all I kind of got. Now we've had 1.5 hour conversations about healing, and he's really listening to Joel Goldsmith right now. I'm getting into all that, and it's really awesome. It's becoming a holy relationship where we're not expecting each other or do. It's about I'm seeing him heal, he's watching me, and we're helping each other, and we're kind of waking up together. Now, I couldn't have said that 1.5 years ago. I didn't even know what this looked like.
That is quite a rat tail, Ninette.
I know. You dirty rat.
You dirty rat.
It is quite a rat tail. Yes, it's possible.
It is.
We don't have the expectations that the other person will change or shift or do anything. We don't hold that expectation, because that expectation in our mind is just another ego thought.
Yeah.
But the thing is that the person that you're doing your mind healing on, that you're projecting on, it's possible that they can shift, they can change. It is possible.
Yeah.
And
well, I knew it would go either one way. It would either be like, well, we've realized that on this plane we need to not, be in such close proximity anymore, or we would, find this holy place where we are still together in this plane, but we're experiencing so much more grace in our energy around each other. And either way, whatever it is, that's what it's supposed to be, and you need to accept that too. But it's quite lovely to have that now in my life. It's completely different. So those of you listening, just know and know that the shit works.
yes, it works. It
The
works.
shit works.
I've experienced this exact same thing. In people around me, people that I have been in contact with, there's things that have come up that is like, ugh, is this really what I'm seeing in this person? Is this, this is coming from me. And so, I just go, oh, rats.
Why R.A.T is so great, because it works for so many things.
It works for so many things. Now, in where I am with my healing, I, from time to time, fear can wake me up, can just wake me up in the morning or even in the middle of the night, just fear. And I've been sound asleep. And all of a sudden it's like, ooh, I'm like, what? So there's no thought attached to that. So I thought, let's just see. So I just rested. I didn't get all, but I rested in it. I allowed it. That fear was just rolling, so I'm allowing it. So I really didn't have any thoughts with it other than I'm in great fear. So here's the fear. And then I just handed it over and gave it to him. And then I said, I trust that my mind is being healed. And it was quite interesting, because with that, I felt great rolls of energy just rolling through me, all the way up.
You do start to feel the effects of your mind choosing again. And I think that's where a lot of seemingly separated beings, they could be listening, and they're like, yeah, but feel like I get so angry. Mm-hmm. And that's where the rubber meets the road. Like, that's where you make that choice. You can either go ego or spirit.
Peace. Yeah.
And that's what, the more you keep choosing the other way, you will start to, it's like on a diet. If you don't eat the chocolate cake Monday, then you don't eat it Tuesday, then you don't eat it Wednesday. It'll start getting a little easier on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There might be times you're like, chocolate cake. But for the most part, you start to like, oh, I don't need that chocolate cake. And same with it. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it is our willingness to just remember and look at this. Peace feels so much better. And when I did do that and the rolls of energy came up, I found myself at peace.
Yeah.
I was just at peace again. So it's the same thing when we have a happening. in the
Mhm.
world. There's a happening.
Mhm.
Somebody says something. We are not victims of the world. We are not. We do have the power to undo this. And that, this R.A.T, this beautiful, beautiful, wonderful tool is just one more way to do it. And then we are really working with the Holy Spirit. And the Course of Miracles is just, it is such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing that we've been given for those who are ready to look at it and study. It really is, it's amazing.
Yeah. And there's just so many other ways too. There's so many other paths to awaken.
Yes.
And those are just as beautiful.
Yes.
Whatever brings you the truth, which is, one thing I've been really working with is, how we hear like, oh, we want the peace of God in our mind. And then today I was listening to David Hoffmeister read the course before the lesson for today, which we're doing our lessons again. Yay. And he was reading and it said, J-Dog says, you are not, you want the peace of God in your mind. You are the peace of God. And that changes. Now, at first, when I heard that, like a year or 2 years ago, I was like, oh, that's great in theory, but I just knew I was still a dirty rat and I couldn't accept it in my mind. But now that I've done a whole crap load of healing thus far, I'm sure I got a crap more to go. That is such a obvious sort of choice for me now. Whereas before I couldn't even, it was like a fantasy, kind of like, oh, I am the peace of God. Whoop-de-doop-de. Now I'm like, dude, that is it. That is it. The I am of you is that peace of God. And it always is there. And you're still just mucking about, not remembering half the time. That's okay.
Yeah.
But choose again. Keep choosing that you are. Keep remembering that you are, even if it feels sometimes like it's not true or whatever. The more you do it, the better it will start to sit with you in your mind.
Yes.
Training our mind again. We're remembering and training.
Remembering. Yes, remembering it. It can become like you're on autopilot with it. And that's when you do have the great willingness, when you really start to see, okay, wow, there's a huge difference here. And I did it. I did it with the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And it's like, my gosh, this is real. This is real. I really can work with the Holy Spirit and I can undo this and I can be at peace.
Yeah, and if you're uncomfortable with Holy Spirit, Source, your creator, the ultimate in the intelligence of this, whatever. You can call it Mung Bung Ping.
Exactly, whatever you're comfortable with, it does not matter.
You're handing it over to something that isn't you.
Yeah.
The small you. You're not handing it over to yourself to do it. We can't possibly do it because we really don't know what we're doing.
We don't know what we're doing. We don't know what anything is. We don't know what anything is for. And the ego says, oh, well, we can figure this out. We can plan a way, or we can think about this and think about this and think about this and think about how upset we were or how angry or how hurt, and we can just think, okay, the thing to do is to just confront them. Yeah, that'll fix it.
And I think the two is just not the no resistance. Like, allow yourself to feel whatever's coming up. And the more you can take the story away, the he, she, they did it, and sit in the actual sensation of it, that's when it starts to break apart and it really begins to have absolutely no power.
Exactly. That's what the ego does not want us to do. Yeah. The ego wants us to stay in the story.
Stay in the script. It's like peeling off a Band-Aid. It's like, because your ego part of your mind wants to hold on to that story. So you kind of got to peel that Band-Aid off. Be like, nah, okay, that was just to get us here. Yeah. Now let's sit in this broth of goo because it's going to be good. It is going to allow us to choose again.
Yeah. And you start to see, after it starts to feel so good, and after like, okay, you've been hurt or you're angry with her, then later on it's like, there's still something a little off with me today. What is this? And I'm looking at it with Jesus, and it's like, oh. And there'll be just a little something that I wasn't aware of, but still I wasn't really having a happy day. I wasn't, but but it could be subtle. It could be such a little thing. And then it's like, oh, okay. So, hey, here you go.
Here's the key. I shared with my partner, I said, hey, the cool thing about doing this kind of work is at first you kind of hit with the big things and you notice those. But the more you work in and work down the, Alice in Wonderland little ego hole, you start to become very sensitive to the small, little, tiny things. Because those have the power. Those still run the show. So the more we do this work, we are very tuned in to when the slightest little ping, that needle drops. We're like, oh, hey. Whereas in the beginning, you're just like, I'm just dealing with all this stuff. But then you start to get very, you tune in. You really tune in. You just don't let yourself get away with anything anymore.
Yeah. There can be some things that we have told ourselves, well, that's normal. What comes off the top of my head is like jealousy. And we tell ourselves, well, it's normal to feel jealous because of blah, blah, blah. Well, no, jealousy is not peaceful.
No.
It's not love. I am not jealousy. It's something that needs to be handed over and replaced with love and light, because love and light is what I am.
Right. So
and
it's not peaceful.
Then you begin, but ego says, oh, no, that's perfectly normal, to feel jealous. It's perfectly normal to be, because these have been perfectly normal things in this dream of what we deem normalcy.
Right.
But our job now, if we're going to do this work, our job now is to look at our projections.
Yeah.
Look at our feelings, and it just feels so good.
Well, Linda, we're going to wrap up here, but is there anything you want to, sign off with so people can really take that into their mind healing time?
I would say try it. Absolutely try it. You can do this. Yes. And it's so simple. And just look. Now, how do you feel about that person now? And it's like, huh? You can't even go there.
Right.
So it's great. So people, enjoy it. Just enjoy it.
Yeah. And I think something else to maybe consider is, if you are experiencing stuff that does not feel good, or you're, not happy or whatever, you can't go into it with the same thing that you got into it with. You have to step out of that and do something that's different. So that's why this is so great, or anything that gets you pulled back into a place of awareness where you're like, okay, what, I got to try something else here, because being in this isn't working.
And this isn't real.
Yeah.
This is a dream. This is an illusion. So that is the other thing. You're recognizing that, and that's why you're handing it over, because it's not true, and it's not who we are. And so that's important too. That's why we do this. That's why we sit with it, and we allow it.
And you can do it. If we can do it, you can do it.
Anybody can do it. But just don't, we're not believing that this is real and that something really happened. Yeah. Every single one of us who does this work, we are doing this for the entire sonship. So we don't want to just sit here in fear of what is happening with politics and with the government and wherever. We don't want to sit here in fear. We want to heal it. It just needs to be healed.
R.A.T, bitches, what? Don't forget it. Thanks for hanging out, and we look forward to our next show coming up pretty soon. It's nice to be back in the seats. You know what I'm saying?
It is so much fun.
Yeah. Don't forget that we are all is infinite spirit. Thank you.
Let's talk about life, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the truth and consciousness, divinity. Let's talk about God.